Last season with our Oldham Athletic side, we finished 9th place in League One, just a few points off of the playoffs, which means this year, my objectives is to get in the playoffs. I'm not convinced we can go up in the top 2, but if we can get in the playoffs, maybe go up through the playoffs, that'll be pretty good. In addition to the league, obviously 3 competitions taking place. We've got the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, and the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. I don't care for any of them, and looking like the board don't care either. They do want us to get out of the group stages, though, in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. I honestly couldn't care less. On the 1st of July, we have obviously had the transfer window open. Some contracts have expired. New players have joined the club. Some big names leaving for us. The biggest one, I think, is Nick Zanev, who has been our #1 goalkeeper for the last 2 seasons. I mean, last year kind of did eventually lose his place in January, but Zanev has left the club. Tom Conlon's actually played a fair amount of football for us as well last year, but he's also moved on. As has James Brophy, and this one is because he just wasn't very good last year. In fact, he didn't play last year at all. His contract's expired and we've moved him on. Another player to leave the club on a permanent deal is Greg Sloggett. He's left. He's gone to Sligo Rovers. Once again, this one was a free transfer, but we were never going to play him anymore. Joining the club then, we have gone to Premier League and big sides and looked at their youth players who they have released and picked up 4 players so far. Ollie Harrison is the first one. English central midfielder signed from Chelsea on a free transfer. Was formerly at Newcastle as well. He's definitely one for the future. Might get a bit of game time this year. Ashley Rogers as well is another player formerly of Chelsea, brought in once again on a free transfer. He's a left back by trade, but can play as a centre back. I'm not convinced Rogers is going to get a lot of first team football just yet, but at 18 he's got some potential and time to grow. We might loan him out. We've also brought in a potential new #1 goalkeeper, although I don't think he's quite there yet. Samuel Archer, 19 years of age, English goalkeeper, formerly of Tottenham, has made his Tottenham debut and conceded 3. I think he's part South African. He is part South African as well. So Samuel Archer is in. I've got big expectations for Archer. But the biggest expectations I have is on a man called Alfie Smith. From Sheffield United, a new gen has been signed on a free transfer, is released from his contract, and I think he's probably good enough to go into our first team right now. He is wanted, which is probably loan deals, isn't it? Yeah, Bradford, Cheltenham, Gateshead, Stockport, Chester, so maybe we look at loaning him out for a year, although I think he's probably good enough to play for us right now. Although when we compare him against some of our other players that we do have in the squad, Young Coombs and Kelvin are better. Larson technically is better, although he's a left midfielder, isn't he? And Dallas is as good. I mean, Smith is 18. He's got plenty of years ahead. He's got 10 years ahead of him, at least in Football Manager. Maybe Alfie Smith is made into our starting striker. We've got a bit of money to spend as well, £358,000. We've got about £2,000 of wage budget also to spend if we really want to do that. I'm expecting we're going to have lots and lots of free transfers. For the next couple of years, I don't think we're going to be financially in a position, unless we get promoted, we're going to be financially in a position to kind of throw money at people. But cut to me in about 10 seconds time where we spent £500,000 on a new goalkeeper. Right, lots of business has taken place, and it's not £500,000 on a new goalkeeper, it's a defence midfielder, which we will get to in just a moment. Shiloh Remy is the first player to leave the club. He has moved over to AFC Wimbledon, spent a season out on loan last year, £25,500 for a player who was never going to play for us the moment we got promoted. Aidan Barlow as well has been moved on. I don't think he's very good, okay? But the fact that we've managed to get 2 half-decent seasons out of him, we've sold him for £120,000, he's helped us get promoted as well. Barlow he just exceeded expectations. And finally, Nathan Young Coombs has also left the club on a permanent deal. He had 1 good season with us last year, and then the big team started sniffing around, and yes, Cardiff are technically a big team compared to Oldham, and we kind of had no choice but to sell him. £525,000 is a good bit of money for a player that we paid literally nothing for. And we have brought in 5 players as well. Dan Crowley, first up, 29-year-old Irish midfielder, signed on a free transfer after he got released from Notts County. I think this is a good player. He's 29, so he's on the higher end of the ages that I like to play, but I think he can do a job, and he's probably going to rotate in and out. We've also picked up an 18-year-old Cypriot right winger from Barrow on a free transfer, and I think he's potentially going to be good in the future. I'm not convinced he's going to be good. I've already played him 5 times. This is how much I think he might be good. But yeah, we've signed this man. Notice I'm not trying to say his name. He's coming on a free transfer from Barrow. Maybe we loan him out. Might be better than just trying to force play him. Another young winger to join is Arel Mifsud from Southampton, once again released on a free transfer. He is naturally a left winger. We are going to train him up to be a left midfielder, and at just 17 years of age, he's got plenty of years ahead of him. For some reason, my coaches don't think he's very good. I think they're wrong. He looks very good for a 17-year-old to me. Someone else who I'm extremely excited about is Andre de Cruz, an 18-year-old English striker signed from Bromley for just £26,500. One of my scouts saw this guy and went, he's pretty good, you should have a look at him. I clicked him, looked, and went, yeah, he's pretty good, and saw about 9 other teams kind of in the Championship and League One that wanted him, and I went, I need this guy in my club. So we've kind of overpaid his wages, and it doesn't sound like it. He's on £1,000 a week, but he only wanted about £300 a week. We've given him a massive pay rise. I might lock in the Cruz to play this season because I think there's something there. He's only got 7 finishing. He's also 6'7". He's a giant. And the final player to join the club for £500,000 is Noan Kenner. It's a lot of money. It's definitely a lot of money. £500,000 is a huge amount of money. We signed him from Stoke, who bought him for £86,000 2 seasons before. £500,000 is steep, but there is a thought here with Kenner. We have him for a year or 2, and we sell him. That's it. I don't expect to keep Kenner in our squad. If we have him for a year or 2, we can sell him for £1 million. We've doubled our money and got 2 good seasons out of him. I'm kind of okay with that, and I feel like he's not going to want to stick around, particularly if we don't get promoted to the Championship at the very least. So I'm kind of okay with spending this money. And that is all of the transfer business, excluding loan deals. There is a lot of them. Sean Hobson, Kilner, Hilson, Gardson, Williams, Declan Brown, Cortez, Ling, Stephen Naismith, Callum Butler, Mamadou, Brindley Smith. We've loaned out. Ashley Rogers is a player to go out on loan. Anyone else of interest? I feel like there isn't anyone of interest. Probably not. Maybe. There might be. There's a lot of people going out on loan is what I'm trying to say. From a formation perspective, obviously we are sticking with the Iron Man formation, link in the description below, because I think it's an interesting formation to play. No wingers, no fullbacks. It's very difficult to buy players who aren't wingers or fullbacks. I always find decent wingers and decent fullbacks and then go, I need to retrain you to be something else. Much like the Cypriot, who I am going to lock in at least until January, okay? It might not work. We're also going to keep Larson locked in on that left-hand side, because if we don't lock in Larson, I feel like they might try and play Johnny Smith, which Johnny Smith is fine. Johnny Smith is not a terrible player, but Smith has kind of been brought in mainly for the right-hand side, so Larson is going to be the one locked in for now. Other players that I think is worth taking a look at, Jimmy Turunainen has just under 2 years left on his contract, and I feel like we're not going to keep him much longer than this season. Next year, I'm probably going to sell him, and I don't really want to lose him on a free transfer. So we have got him up, available for £10 million, and he's okay with that. I just need somebody to come in for that amount of money. I'd take 5. Honestly, I'd take £5 million. In defence, we still have Willie at the club. Willie Cambuala, who played 42 times so far for the club, scoring a goal as well. I'm thinking Willie, much like Jimmy, might not want to stick around too much longer, particularly if we don't get promoted. His value confuses me. £70,000 to £1 million. I don't know what... I feel like he's worth nearer £1 million than £70,000, but there we are. I think... He does have 2 years. Okay, I thought he only had 1 year left on his contract. We might need to accept £500,000. If anyone comes in for it, we have to accept it, to be fair. And another important player who is probably going to be leaving, in fact will be leaving at the end of the season, is Keenan Forson, the 24-year-old Ghanaian that we signed from West Ham on a free transfer in Season 2. I think it was Season 2. He's basically decided he doesn't want to stay here anymore. Which is annoying, because I like Forson. I think he's a very good player. He's very good playing for us in that Segundo Volante role, but he's decided he wants to leave. So we're going to accept £180,000 if anyone comes in for it. Obviously, that's not going to happen, though, until January at the earliest. Obviously, the season has kicked off already as well. We are currently sat 9th place in the table. 2 wins, 2 draws, and 1 defeat. We have beaten Port Vale and Sheffield Wednesday. We beat Sheffield Wednesday 7-6. We score goals, but we also concede goals. We've drawn with Watford and Leyton Orient, and we have lost 4-0 against Crawley. We need to work out how to, I was going to say not concede goals, but I'm okay with conceding goals, but I don't want to concede 4 a game or 6 a game. Carabao Cup as well, we've already been knocked out of that by Swansea in the first round, which is fine. And in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, we are currently sat second after a 1-0 win against Mansfield. All we need to do is get out of the group. That's all we need to do in that. And on the 1st of January, we have managed to get out of the group. More importantly, in my eyes as well, making sure Aston Villa's under-21s don't get out of the group. So we have won twice, beating Aston Villa 4-1, beating Mansfield 1-0, and then losing a match, I assume, against Gateshead, which was a draw that we then kind of lost. I still don't understand this. I will never understand the Johnson's Paint Trophy, Bristol Street Motors Trophy, whatever it's called. We also managed to get through the second round as well against Barnsley, a 3-1 win here, which is obviously, once again, pretty good. We're now into the third round against Doncaster, and then a bunch of under-21 sides. I feel like if we get past Doncaster, we're getting knocked out by a bunch of children at some point. But then I look at my club and my squad and think we were also a bunch of children, so maybe it's not too bad. From a league perspective, it's not good. It's certainly not going well. We've dropped down to 17th place. After 25 games, we've only got 8 wins, so only 6 more wins after the first 5 matches. That's not good. 6 wins in 20 games. We've drawn 6. We have lost 11. I imagine, I don't quite know, but I imagine we are one of the worst when it comes to goals conceded. 58. It's worse by 1, but we're also joint second, when it comes to goals scored. In January, we've obviously got the transfer window open. We are £1 million in debt as a club, but as a transfer window, we do have £100,000 to spend. I don't think we're going to do much. We did one transfer that I always seem to do on this year's Football Manager, and it's because I'm determined to make him good, and it's never going to work. Dynel Sameo has signed on a free transfer after his release from Southampton. I say Southampton, I think it was actually Filed. Yeah, he went to Filed, and then we brought him in, and he's played a couple. I know there's potential. This is the thing that I kind of hate about Football Manager, but I know he has a reasonably high potential. It's like 140 kind of max, but if he gets that, that's very good. The problem is, he's not good enough now to play games. With that in mind, I might lock him in. Although, looking at how well he has played, so I've locked him in basically for the entirety of January since he joined the club. He got sent off on his debut, and a 6-3 and a 6-4. I mean, a 6-9 is pretty good against Plymouth, but maybe we don't lock him in. Okay, maybe he's had 6 games playing for us. He's got an average rating of a 6.47. Maybe he's not very good at football. So with that in mind, we're just locking in Larson. We've got rid of what's his name? I've already forgotten his name. Crystal, that's his name. He's not been locked in anymore. He's not done awful. He's got a 6.55 average rating in the league, which is not great. He scored a goal, which is obviously quite handy, but he's not working out. Right now, he's not working out, so he's dropped down. In fact, he's loan listed, so if somebody wanted him on loan, they can have him till the end of the season, get some game time. One good bit of news, however, Andre de Cruz, who we signed from Bromley, is our third top goal scorer with 12 goals so far in all competitions. He's started 19 games. I've not locked him in at all, so my assistant manager is quite happy with de Cruz. He kind of gets 2 games here, then a game off, then a game off, then 2 games, then a game off. He's got a lovely little pattern going on, actually. That's quite nice. Our second top goal scorer is Kelvin at the moment with 14 goals. He's out of contract at the end of the season, by the way, and he does not necessarily want to sign a new one, which I'm kind of okay with. And our top goal scorer is Andrew Dallas, who is also out of contract at the end of the season. I think we might need to extend this. I think we might need to extend it for another year or 2. He's 29. He's still very good. He's still scoring the goals, but he's not as good as arguably I'd like him to be. But if we've got Dallas and de Cruz up front for another year, that's okay. Someone who, by the way, is actually playing ridiculous is Larson. I've just seen he's got 18 assists in all competitions. Quite a few of them in the FA Cup. 5 and a goal in just 3 FA Cup games. He's got 4 assists in the Bristol Street Motors. 9 assists in League One as well. So he's doing quite good, which is nice to see. And Dan Crowley as well, despite the fact he now has a hip injury, does also have 11 assists in the league. Not in the league, in all competitions. Only 5 in the league. That's not great, but that injury, I imagine, he's been out for a while with that. Since Boxing Day. He got injured on Boxing Day. In other news as well, in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, we did manage to just breeze past Doncaster, a 3-0 win there, which then puts us into, I believe, the quarter-final, which was against Plymouth, which we managed to win that as well, 2-1, which puts us into the semi-final, where we have Carlisle from League 2. We might actually be in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy final. We're probably playing Liverpool if we get there. So, with that in mind then, let's jump to the end of the season. I can't imagine we are going up this year, but if we can win the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, that would be quite nice. At least it's a trophy in the cabinet. Fully aware, the last 3 seasons or 4 seasons, I've basically said I don't care for that competition. Now we have a chance of winning it. That's all I want to do. So on the 1st of June then, we've kind of had a bit of retribution when it comes to league form. We have moved up to 10th place. 19 wins, 13 draws, 14 defeats. We kind of just clawed it back towards the end of the season. That is the highest place we have been since when? End of October. We have not been higher than 11th place until then, which is just madness. Fair enough. In the Bristol Street Motors Trophy final, however, we take Liverpool all the way to extra time after a 3-3 draw. Goals for us came from, I believe, de Cruz. I'm not even sure who scored, but de Cruz is in on goal here and easily tucks it underneath the Liverpool goalkeeper. On the 37th minute, we finally take the lead. At this point, it is 1-1. Smith down the right-hand side, plays it into the middle, onto the ground for De Cruz to get his second and our second of the game. And then, as we are about to enter the half-time break, we make it 3-1, surely securing ourselves a trophy. Smith with the goal here, but unfortunately in the second half, Liverpool did have a bit of a resurgence. And that took us all the way to penalties, where we eventually win on penalties. I'm pretty sure every single player from our team took a penalty at this point. We can jump right the way to the end to see the final penalty, which was taken by Hunt, who was the first penalty taker as well. And he tucks the ball away. I don't think that was actually... Was that the winning penalty? Was that actually the... It was, because Gordon missed. So does that mean Fisher? Fisher scored a penalty. Andrew Fisher scored a penalty to win a trophy. That's pretty good. So yeah, ultimately, from a league perspective, not ideal, but still kind of working our way up the table, which is good. But we do win ourselves our first trophy of the... I was going to say of the save, but technically I think we've won a league, haven't we? The Bristol Street Motors trophy is in our cabinet. We didn't win the league, did we? We came second in League 2 and third place in the Vanarama National League, where we went up through the playoffs. So, it's our first trophy. Some of the standout performers then of the season. Jimmy Turunainen, with 1 year left on his deal, has been our third or fourth top goal scorer, with 11 goals, also getting 11 assists. Kelvin picks up 18 goals in all competitions as well, and he's only got a year left on his contract, and I imagine Kelvin's probably off, much like Jimmy is. In his debut season in, I assume, professional football, I don't know whether Bromley are professional, but I'm going to guess they might not be, Andre De Cruz is our second top goal scorer with 21 goals in all competitions and 3 assists, 2 of those goals as well, obviously coming in the Johnson's Paint Trophy, Bristol Street Motors Trophy, Papa John's Trophy, LDV Vans Trophy, whatever else you want to call it, trophy final. And once again, our top goal scorer is Andrew Dallas, 22 goals in all competitions. I've still not committed to giving him a new contract. He scored 22, he's got a month left. He's got a month left to go. I don't know whether we're going to do it. 3 other standout performers, Dan Crowley being one of them. He's had an injury-riddled season by the looks of it, because he's now torn his calf muscle, but he's picked up 11 assists and 6 goals. Jimmy Turunainen, we've already seen with his 11 and 11. Johnny Smith playing on the right-hand side, so obviously coming in once we dropped our Cypriot youngster, managed to pick up 13 assists and 8 goals as well, which is very impressive. But the top assister, by a ridiculous distance, is Julian Larsson. 24 assists, 6 goals as well in all competitions. He has certainly helped in providing some of those ridiculous amounts of goals that we've scored. If we have a look as well, sort by appearances, Larsson and Fisher have played every single game. Armitage has actually played 46 games. That's a lot of games for a centre-back to play. Noah Kenner, for £500,000, he's done all right. He's done all right. Nearly a 7 rating in the league. 7 goals in the league, 7 assists in the league, 3 goals as well. That's pretty good from a Segundo Volante position. But next season, we do need to get ourselves promoted into the Championship if we want to get back to the Premier League by Season 10. That is the goal. If we get promoted from the Championship in Season 10, we have succeeded in everything we need to do. But 3 full seasons in League 1 is not good. So we need to get ourselves promoted soon, because a big problem that we are going to have as well is a lot of the big players and the decent players that we've signed for free transfers are not going to want to stick around either. And our youth intakes, they're not really good. He's our best player and he's rubbish. So next year then, we go again in League 1 with one objective: promotion to the Championship. That is all we need to do.